close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon. Turn us to thousands, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Unmute my mic on there. Now
What's
I have to figure out
up?
how
I
to.
think I got this going. Spin that down a little bit.
Okay, so I can mute.
Unmute my mic on there.
I live inside
Now
my
I have to figure out
world of
how to.
make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles,
So I can
profanities.
that one.
I see
Bring that up a
the
bit.
ice covered in ink and bleach.
You forgot it was Tuesday.
Out the ones who
bot.
heard my cries and
What's up,
watched me
everybody?
weep.
Today is our last stream before the big Christmas holiday. Really excited about it. As always, we've got the live stream going on over at twitch.tv/Coach Antor. But today is our first official episode using Twitter Spaces. We're really excited to try this out, see how it goes. If anyone would like to add to the conversation, hop on over to Twitter and into the spaces here and request to speak. This is going to be a fun one. Got the Twitch stream up, watching it. I am very quiet on stream. Okay. I'm going to try to bump this up a little bit. Not entirely sure how to do more. Let's see. Maybe? Nope. That doesn't fix anything. Alright. Let's see if I bring down the music further. There. That should be better. Actually, you know what? We can probably just pause the music. Is it the right mic? It is not the right mic. You can't harass me in spaces. You can harass me in spaces. I can just mute you. I'm not going through the Blue Yeti mic because I think if I go through the Blue Yeti mic, it'll be both. And you'll hear an echo. So we'll try this out. I'll probably watch it back later on and see what it actually looks like or sounds like. But how's everybody doing? Mom, get the camera. I'm on stream. You are. Joel, thank you for stopping by. See, Coach Faust is in here on Spaces. But I didn't have, not much came up in Collegiate Esports this past week. So we're talking about the break we're currently on and preparing for the spring. So not much from the collegiate standpoint, except, I mean, people introducing themselves in the new Twitter community. If you're not in the community for Collegiate Esports on Twitter, head on over to Dylan's profile and you can get that access to that cool little community on Twitter. He got early access to it, so really cool. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the break, what others are doing for preparing for the spring, what I'm doing to prepare for the spring, and it should be a pretty good time. So I'm excited about it. How's everybody doing in terms of the semester? Colin says it's the downtime right now, which is nice. Actually having downtime to just plan and unwind is a rare gift. 100%. I completely agree. It's a nice, slow recovery time from a mental standpoint. It's a quick couple weeks here, and then we have registration for all the NACE stuff. Yeah, Dylan on Twitter. Yeah, Madroom. And then we kind of hop into January, and January 10th or the 17th, kind of that time frame is when registration closes for the spring. So be sure to start your registration processes now, because I know how much of a pain it can be to get through registration. Make sure all your players are signed up. It can be quite the process, and you don't want to be doing that, rushing it the day before registration closes. So I know NACE Star League, I believe registration closes the 10th, might be the 12th for varsity, and then for Open and Challenger it closes the 17th, I believe. So get on that, everybody. Get on that. Anybody running any practices over break? A lot of this conversation, for those of you in the Twitter space, is happening on twitch.tv/Coach Antor. But if anybody wants to talk in the space, send that request to be a speaker, and let's chat it out. Miles Dean says he's recruiting. Good time to recruit. Had a recruit on campus yesterday. I have another one on campus tomorrow, and then I fly out right after. But this is prime recruiting time before everyone else starts really recruiting. When people start staring at the end of the school year, freaking out because they haven't hit their numbers yet. They'll start hopping up in March. March through May is probably most recruiting efforts are happening. Madru says he's running optional practices and workouts, but nothing is mandatory because the internet in my state is dog water. That's unfortunate. 2 a week. Miles is saying he's running 2 a week. Coaching for Missouri Western for League of Legends, doing some one-on-one sessions over break, but that's about it. Nice. A couple one-on-one sessions. Sounds pretty low-key, but keeps the players playing. That's good. I know most of our players are kind of taking a week or two break completely off the game, most of the games. Did anyone see any collegiate spice happening? For some reason, the Call of Duty stuff, when it came out, like I didn't see it for like 48 hours. It must be Twitter saying that they know I don't really care about Call of Duty as much. But yeah, let me know if anyone's seen anything happening. I saw Dylan put out a tweet, but I couldn't find it again. Like I feel like he deleted it. It was about like programs being under. Zyro says he doesn't either. Nice. But Dylan put something out about being under student life versus athletics, which whatever tweet that was, I totally did not agree with, and a majority of people didn't either. Halo is popping. If you say so. I think the the professional event looked pretty legit. We'll see if it's sustainable in any way. No spice except for clowns that are going to be clapped in this Halo charity event. Did you guys already pick teams for that? Did I get picked? I feel like I probably didn't get picked. I don't even know what server that was on. Probably, stay plugged in, probably. Halo charity event, announcements. Oh, when is that? I think the draft is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Got it. Okay. Well, I will get clapped in said Halo tournament, but it would be fun if I got drafted. We'll see. I am pretty much scrub, but we'll see. We'll see. Spin is the server. Okay. Sweet. As I thought. You are all welcome to stream your POV. Da 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 da. Ooh, dang good. Ooh, hot cocoa. Dang. All right. Aquinas Esports is in the chat. What's up, Riley? Congrats on your team. Nice GPA for the semester, 3.19. Highest in program history. You had to say it, didn't you? You beat me my last semester by 0.08. Whatever. You won this one. The real winners here are our students, right? I think your camera might be off sync. That is true because I'm pulling audio from Spaces, but my mic is going through Spaces on my phone. So I might have found the problem with trying to do both. I need somebody to hop on Spaces to chat with me. Who's going to do it? We got Coach Rob, we got Riley, we got a couple of other folks, Ulysses, see, Zyro. You guys are Hubdub and Faust. Most of you guys are in Twitch chat. Who's hopping up? Let's talk. Let's talk about something. If someone wants to talk about something completely different than what my title is, let's do it. All right? I'm down. I haven't seen anyone try to hop on here. Y'all are still working, I'm sure. Any other schools having any more disruptions with COVID? This is a really good topic. Our start date was pushed back a week, and first week of classes will be online. Wow. We haven't had anything yet, but I know our administration is kind of on edge watching it. How do I talk on Discord or PC? You can't on Spaces. Oh, I got a request. Coach Rob. Coach Rob. What's
Adam,
up?
my man.
Oh, my.
Yo, what's the deal with next semester with you guys up there or down there in Florida, man? What are you guys getting into?
What are we getting into? So my first semester was trying to figure out what was going on around the program, kind of getting an initial thought or I guess assessment of what was going on. My second semester goal is to get our production up and running. That's really what I'm going to be focusing on is production. And then next fall we'll be back on competition, specifically with our League of Legends team. I kind of have these semester based goals of like themes, if you will, on what I want to address. And my second semester is production. Obviously, it's an ongoing thing, but that's what we're doing. We'll have League of CLOL in the spring. Overwatch is a struggle. I don't think we'll be competing in the spring, but we'll be practicing. And then Rocket League is a continual. I mean, they're always competing. Rocket League never stops. So that's what we're doing. Looks like Coach Rob jumped off of speaker, but would love to hear what some other people are doing this spring. What are some of the goals of the people in the spaces? Feel free to hop up, talk about it. We got Zyro in chat saying with content, if you want to share, how are you going to get started? Are you going to get a TriCaster or some sort of switcher? I don't know if my audio is not picking up or if it's just being really funky, but we're going to keep going. Will you be using NDI software? What are your first steps? My first steps is establishing a team of casters. We do not have a team of casters. I also want to try to find a student who would run production potentially, but I just need to get the team and the workflow established, like having a schedule in advance, communicating with our team of casters when that is, and having a caster for every match. Like very basic. That's what I need to get up and running. NDI software, I think, is a really cool future option for certain programs. We're not anywhere near that point yet, but it's something the coaches and directors should be aware of, because it opens up a lot of doors and possibilities when it comes to production. TriCaster, some sort of switcher, probably not yet either. My goal in like 2 to 3 years is to build out a production studio similar to what, or at least the production capability similar to what Boise has. But first, it's just let's get a product out there and let's make sure we have the workflow right from that perspective. My personal goal is I want to get the guys on the team to not video game related things together. That's a cool idea. I think Riley could help with that. Riley, get your team to touch grass. All right, there. I put in a good word, Travis. I'm doing the same thing, but with a marketing and content group. Ooh, that's fascinating. Rainbow Six team last year from Faust went paintballing together and had a blast. That's a good idea. I like it. I like it. What other non-gaming stuff has anyone else done to kind of help the like your team cohesion, if you will? Paintball was said. That's a cool one. I think it'd be really cool. I've had the idea pop up multiple times is running D&D, but I just have never done it. We got a request. Rob, welcome back. He's connecting.
What they were doing before I got there. So we have what's called a weekly check-in. So every Wednesday, instead of doing study tables, we all check in an arena. It takes like half an hour, 45 minutes. We ask everybody to go around the room, see like one good thing that happened for them that past week, one bad thing that happened. It kind of just gives them a minute or two, kind of talk to their teammates, which I found it's helped a lot. A big problem that we had when I got there, nobody knew everybody in the roster if they weren't a part of their team. Right, so the league players knew each other, but they didn't know the Smash team or the Overwatch team. So like that's a bonding thing, but it's something that happens like over time and kind of helps build that culture piece, which at least is what I found.
That's a good idea. I like that. That's very cool. When the pandemic first started, I was doing one-on-one check-ins with players, but they kind of fell to the wayside a little bit. I thought they were really valuable. I am trying to figure out how to get my headset connected. one of the students at my school says we should totally go paintballing. All right. Well, I might have gotten put on the hook to go paintballing, so that's exciting. How long are? I wonder how long those meetings are that you have with your students on that. It's interesting. It's really cool. So, Coach Rob does like weekly or does check-ins with his players, go around the room, talk about some positive things that are happening. I really like that. I like the idea of creating a more family, or I guess family is a good way to look at it, but a more cohesive experience among all of your teams. For some reason, my Apple headphones aren't working. I'm trying to connect my AirPods, and it's all just a mess. If anybody wants to hop in and talk about plans for spring, what you're doing over the summer. Hubert says we'll do team dinner every game day on an hour or two before. That's awesome. That's super cool. Will and I are trying to do a campaign going in the spring. We should totally go paintballing. Pre-COVID, we did a team potluck and karaoke night before Thanksgiving. Also cool. All right, we're just gonna cancel that. I don't know what's happening to my headphones. It's all scuffed, bro. It's all scuffed. Man. What else is everybody doing? Any plans? Who's got big plans for spring? What are your guys' program goals look like for the spring semester? Does anybody have any that they're willing to share? I know for us, like I said before, it's very much focused on production and getting our production up and running. We just installed this massive projector in our arena that I'm really excited about. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. I'll post a video of it at some point on Twitter. It's like a $17,000 projector we just installed. We got a request for a chat. What up? How's it going? Connecting. Hey.
Hey.
What's up?
Nothing much. How you doing?
I am doing good. What's been going on with you?
A lot. I mean, our program, like over at Fayetteville Stadium down here in North Carolina. I'm a student, so I hold like the student director of esports position, and like for next semester, a lot of our goals, are some of my personal ones, are to kind of expand a little bit and become more known on campus. I've been kind of working this past semester. I mean, I'm a senior, so I've been trying to go out with a bang. So I'm trying to work with a lot of the bigger organizations. We have something called like the Big Eight on our campus, which is like SGA, Residence Life Association, SAC, which is Student Activities Council, Weekend Activities Council. Work with them to put on like some small tournaments here and there for our students, because who doesn't like to play some games for money. Expand ourselves there and gearing up for some big things like offering scholarships and producing more content for next semester and for when I'm gone. That's kind of what I have planned for next semester.
Awesome. I love it. Sounds like a lot. I do remember you saying you're graduating soon. Do you have plans for after graduation at this point?
Yeah, I'm hopefully going to be going to the University of Maryland to get a massive education in student affairs, and who knows, maybe I can work with their esports department.
Nice.
We'll see. Hopefully my expertise in building and founding a program will be at least somewhat valuable to them. And I know they already have a position open for like esports coordinator, which I will probably be filled by the time I get there, but maybe I can move into a position like that after I get my master's there or something. Or I'll maybe stick with academic advising and helping out like on the side with esports.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah, Maryland is in the process of hiring someone. So that'll be really cool to be kind of starting when they're starting up. That'd be awesome.
Most definitely.
That's cool. Faust says in Twitch chat that he's from a TO standpoint at Gen E. They're going to be doing more events across conferences in the spring. More competitions, exciting. Yeah, Generation Esports doing some stuff. Who else has got plans for spring, goals, anything they're willing to share? I know most of you are probably like, I'm not telling anyone my my secrets. Um, yeah, for us, it's a lot of production. It's also continuing recruiting. I mean, recruiting for us has been kind of in full swing, especially with our League of Legends team. Putting in a lot of time with that, and then trying to figure out the situation for our Overwatch roster, which continues to be a project. Got a request. Coach Rob's back. What's up?
Hey, do you, and this is, I guess, for everybody in here, do you guys have not attached to the the academic portion of it? And I think, Adam, you talked about it quite a bit. Like colleges and schools themselves, it's all about the retention piece and the recruitment piece and wanting to hit that magic number, right? What is the number that you're looking to get, at your school? Because you just got there, and other people in general. Like, is there a number that you want to hit, and then what is that close to the number that they want you to hit, type of thing?
For me, I'm at a school that doesn't have that number requirement. We just had our largest freshman class ever, and we've kind of peaked, or we've kind of maxed out what our campus can hold in terms of students. So for me, esports at Florida Southern is not a recruitment driver. They do want to end up in the low 30s from a varsity perspective. We have 24 right now, so you calculate that out. 7 new students, graduating 2, so probably 9. But that's not a number I'm held to. That was just a number they threw out. My focus is on gaining talent and upping the competitive value that we have on a national level. So I don't have a specific number. What I hear from most new programs, a number that's usually thrown out is about 12 to 15 new students per year. I know for a fact, talking to a good handful of the directors in this room, that's usually about the average when it comes to a new program, or the first 2 years of a program, a school wants you to bring in 15 new students. Um, at Aquinas, I brought in 27 over 2 years. Um, they wanted 30 total. Some of those were transfers that semester, so I didn't technically hit their goals. We had COVID thrown in there. Um, I think in the beginning of each fall semester, I brought in 12 new, and they were pretty satisfied with that. But if anyone has any other numbers they want to throw out there, feel free. But yeah, 12 to 15 is what I hear. I've heard some new programs for some reason think they can get 30 new students in 1 year, or the first year, and that's just crazy talk in my opinion. We got a request, bring Coach Rob back up here. Maybe he can talk about how many he has to recruit in as well.
Anytime. And the guy before me was in that COVID situation. So they were only able to bring in like 2 last year, right? So when I got there in
Yeah,
July, that the number was 2 to come in. So for us, being a smaller school, which I hate to say it, but I feel like a lot of smaller schools are because we're not able to be in that boat. It is about the recruitment piece, right? So for me, I took over.
absolutely.
They asked me how many I wanted, like how many that they thought I could get because they hadn't hit the number in like 3 years. I was like, man, I can hit 15, no problem. I think I can hit 15. Like 2 weeks later, the AD calls me up. She's like, hey, like the program hasn't hit their number in a couple years. I'm gonna make you get 3 more. So I'm gonna make you get 18, right? So
Oh my
like that's
gosh.
where we've been at in our situation. But kind of going back to your piece with the production aspect that you kind of talked about. Now, are you able to offer scholarships on that side as well? So like for shoutcasters or commentary and stuff like that on the production side, or are you kind of not tapped,
That's a
but is
good
that all
question.
you're looking for scholarship wise or just the players?
So at my current school, we only have scholarships budgeted for players specifically, but I know at other schools, including Aquinas, we had the flexibility to offer scholarships for non-players, um, and that helped hit those numbers. Um, for us, our budget for scholarships is based on how many starting positions there are. So we don't have the luxury at this point in time to do that. I think it's invaluable to for people to know the background on Rob's situation is they haven't had a director, a full time director for a couple of years. They had a GA in there, but you guys have had Siena Heights has had a program for 4 years or something, pretty close to that. But yeah, the anecdote of you saying you'll get 15 and they'll say, and then they coming back and saying, how about 18 when they only had 2 last year is, I chuckle because it's very common. uh, that kind of going back and forth there. But 18 is a big number. 15 is a big number. So good luck with that. But I know you've been doing pretty well already, and the talent you're pulling in is probably pulling in additional players too. So I would not be surprised if you hit that number and blew it out of the water a little bit. We got Faust in the house now. What's up?
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, so that was one of the things
Hey.
that I was doing at Hawkeye before I left to go work for Gen E was I was bringing in students to run a stats crew as well for all of the games. And primarily they were like accounting students or, people who had an interest in, some sort of esport, but didn't maybe have the talent or the necessarily the time to put in, but they still wanted to be involved. So we actually were working on building out a stats crew. We had a production crew and then also had our graphic design team as well. So yeah, we were doing all 3 of those plus 4 different titles. So yeah, just having those different and kind of getting creative with it too, because in COVID, that was a large issue of other teams on campus weren't necessarily getting to those numbers, and we doubled our roster size from 26 to about 55 over COVID. So it was a nightmare there for a little bit trying to get everything up and going. But just getting creative with it, I think it's always a good thing to do.
Yeah, and don't be fooled anyone about it. I would say 90 to 95% of the esports, the varsity esports programs out there right now were created for recruitment. Like at the end of the day, it's a way to bring more students to campus, and I believe that's a large reason why the Midwest adopted it so quickly, and continue to kind of mass adopt esports at the college level is because a lot of schools and institutions in the Midwest are really struggling from an admission standpoint right now. And this was, like I said, an easy way to get 15 to 30 new students on campus who weren't getting full rides, but obviously are usually getting a little bit of scholarship money. But that's the main reason most of these programs are in existence. But every coach I've talked to has goals beyond just 15 new students to the school. If they don't, you're just a salesperson, and that's not why we do this. So, yeah, it's a fascinating. It's really fascinating to look at from a business standpoint how rapidly collegiate esports has been adopted, especially in the Midwest, and it's based around this idea of admissions and enrollment, recruitment, etc. Got a question in the Twitch chat. Is it common for schools to get new players in the spring? I would say it's fairly common. It's not as many students as coming in the fall, but um, I would say I think both years that now 3 years, I've had about 2 to 4 new students coming in the spring, every year. So it's a couple additional. Um, it depends on the school too and how competitive the team is. There's probably some really competitive League of Legends teams, for example, who recruit heavily going into the spring because that's when spring CLOL is. So they're filling holes in their roster all the way up until January. And it's kind of an ongoing recruitment cycle from spring through December. Um, but it's not nearly as many students as coming in the fall. It's a good question. I was recently brought in to guest speak about esports in an intro to sports management class, and we had a good conversation and around the business of collegiate esports when it comes to recruitment and why a school would want an esports team. And it was
hopefully pretty eye-opening for the students. Some of them had thought that all of our traditional athletes on campus, as well as traditional athletes on any campus, were all getting full rides, which is definitely not the case. So it was a good conversation. Faust in Twitch chat says, on that note, what is everyone's start date for recruiting each year? I know mine was always October 1st when I really transitioned from coaching to recruiting and let my assistant head up practices. Good question. I think if we're being honest with ourselves, most of us probably don't start recruiting until like March. But that's because we're all new to this and fairly overwhelmed. I think as our students or as our directors get more and more experience, that timeline will start earlier and earlier. I know. I think Boise starts the summer before, so almost over a year over. But you can look at women's softball at some campuses, and they're getting verbal commitments from sophomores in high school or even earlier. So athletics is kind of all over the board there. Esports is very late right now. I think another part of that is game titles can change so rapidly. We don't want to lock in a student too early on in that college search process. What's up, Rob?
Like question in a piece. Like for me, and again, I can only speak kind of towards my side, being relatively new from the high school space. But like for me here at Siena, like I had to hit it right away, right? So I missed the class that was coming in, so I kind of had to do it the Boise way, where I started recruiting in July for this next fall, but then I was also recruiting for the following fall. So I've already like had to map out like potential recruits for fall of 23. I think a big piece of it, like for us at Siena, is we're so, like Adam said, we've been around for a while, but we are not super well known. And we're in Michigan, so we're kind of put at the bottom level because nobody knows about us because of that inconsistent presence type of thing, right? So for me, like I had to recruit right away.
For sure. I think the earlier you start, I think the better you position yourself. What I've noticed is when I start the last 2 years starting recruiting in March or April, is I'm getting students who are traditionally the students who wait to make those types of decisions. When you start recruiting earlier, you're really opening wider your nets, in my opinion. There are a lot of students who are very future goal and planning oriented who've already committed to where they're going to go to school come November or December. So by waiting until the spring, you're losing out on some really potentially good students in that regard. And it's also just a lot more stressful when you're trying to rush through the admissions process in the spring or in the summer. But most of us don't even think about recruiting for the next fall until that spring time. And I think it's a symptom of us being spread thin. It's also a symptom of us not knowing what recruitment actually looks like. Most of us were not recruited to college for an athletic scholarship or what have you. So the whole process of recruitment is a new concept that most of us are trying to learn. Mind if I hop back on the mic? Absolutely. Come on up.
Yeah, so one of the things I guess I can share now that I'm not officially running a program anymore, is just kind of like what I did, especially at a 2 year level when it was focusing on, bringing in really high level talent to compete at the top levels, and then also focusing on making sure we were hitting numbers. And one of the things that I found was really effective in this was building a separate Discord that was specifically for recruiting. It was completely separate from the Discords, and I would have it completely built out to where you would have each class would have their own role. Obviously each player would get their own game role as well. And then having a couple representatives in there that I felt would be the best to talk to the student athletes and actually get that like connection to a current student that's in there. And then I would have recruits built out to, I think the latest one I had was 2024, if I'm not mistaken. And so what I would then do is we would set up, every month or so, we would do like an in-house just to get them interested. But then also on the sides in Discord, we would have information channels of if you're a junior, these are the steps I want you to be taking in order to get prepared for the next level. I want you getting involved with the amateur teams. I want you getting involved with coaching a little bit so you can kind of get that technical aspect of it and the more analytical side. And then seniors, hey, this is the documentation you need. This is all of the X, Y, and Z. And we would start that process when they're freshmen, sophomores in high school. So that way, by the time they're graduating and ready to go to college, they've made that decision already based off of what is best for them. And if it wasn't our program, that they already had the steps taken care of to go anywhere else in the country based off of what we had done for them.
That's awesome. Wow, yeah, that would be, yeah, if you built out the space on the Discord correctly, you could really create that that pipeline there. Really good idea. What I've also found is a interesting dichotomy, or I don't know if that's the right terminology, but add some confusion and frustration. Is that as soon as I reach out to some players, it's their first time ever hearing about what college esports is, and sometimes I've opened up the gateways for them to look at everywhere else, and I end up getting them so excited about collegiate esports that they forget about the conversation we had about Florida Southern College, specifically in our program, which is good. I mean, it's good to be able to have those students find those choices, but it's also frustrating when we have a conversation, they're very excited, and then they're like, well, I didn't know esports was a thing in college, so I'm going to go check out all 400 other varsity programs and see which school is going to give me the most. And that can be frustrating. So, yeah. We got a question in chat here on Twitch. What advice can directors, coaches give to players who might be struggling with motivation coming into the spring semester? Ooh, that's a good question. For me, from a motivation standpoint, it often varies. I think what the role of the player and the coach should be, or the director, is to try to identify why you're lacking that motivation. Usually, some type of break, unplugging from the game can help. But if you take a break from the game for a week and you're still not feeling the motivation coming back, it's probably worth it digging a little deeper. Is it the team environment? Is it somebody on your team that's giving the team trouble, bringing down the culture? Are there goals set for the team that you guys are working towards? Or are you guys kind of just blindly going into the darkness? There can be a variety of reasons why motivation might be lacking, but it's a good conversation to have with your director or coach. And hopefully they don't just dismiss it as you not liking the game anymore, or that you're too stressed out. Hopefully there's a conversation happening that's a little deeper than that to try to figure that out. Zyro, thanks for stopping by. Says he's heading out. Wayward in game can. Yep. Kids are all done in home. Awesome. Just keeping up. We have our live stream always happening during these on twitch.tv/Coach Antor. You get to see my lovely face as well as talking text chat if you ever want to say anything there instead of hopping up here on the stage. But yeah, motivation I think is we talked about burnout about a month ago, and it's going to continue to be a struggle. So handsome. Thanks, Bilski. I like always seeing who's stopping by because you guys are some pretty cool people, and it's exciting to see you guys kind of tapped in and continuing to learn and ask questions and share your knowledge. There's so much value to be had with all of us sharing this knowledge to everyone else instead of all of us trying to recreate the wheel. I did receive word that I'll be going to the NACAD conference in Iowa in March. I believe it's March. And I will probably be speaking at it. I'm really excited. It's an event that I would highly recommend, especially to new coaches. It was the first professional development event I went to as a coach back in 2018. No, 2019. I can't even, dude. COVID, everything is, all my years are screwed up. But Went to that, and then I've gone every year, minus last year was online. I did go to the online one, but highly recommend. Good networking opportunity, some good sessions. Bilski's asking how does he get the VIP meet and greet package? I don't know. I can come up with a price. But autographs are an additional cost on top of that. Question for everyone here, and we talked about it a bit ago. Here's a question for Coach Rob. Recruiting itself, we all know we're not giving out full ride scholarships left and right like Bay State, but is there a number of criteria you have or admissions has for you to offer that? Nowadays, I can't count how many recruits have decided to pursue the academy dream and push the higher ed thought to the side. I love the goal and drive, but it isn't. If it doesn't happen, it's tough to see. There's a lot of there's a couple programs out there that people think are giving full rides, but or close to it. But the reality is actually that what they're doing is they're being very successful in recruiting students who qualify for significant federal and state aid, and that makes college very cheap when you combine it with admission scholarships, and that's a really important key to the puzzle here. If you're at a institution who only gives a certain amount of scholarships, try to figure out or work with financial aid on coming up with some of those numbers as you have those conversations with your recruits, because we look at something like the Pell Grant, and the Pell Grant can be, I know in Michigan, we're sometimes looking at like $6,000 to $10,000 a year in federal and state money, and that goes on top of the 20 grand we were giving in academic and the 5 in esports, and we were all of a sudden almost at a full tuition scholarship. So really important piece of the factor when you're talking about how or looking at how expensive your institution is that federal and state money. And it can be really helpful for a student who's looking at the finances and you're trying to kind of figure out how you can make it work. Those types of students are can be really a lot. I mean, they can just get college cheaper, and that can be an easier sell. Pally Boy asks, and what kind of students are those that fit into those type of grants? It's based on parents' income. I don't know all the details on how it's calculated, et cetera. It comes from the FAFSA, and your financial aid office, when they give the FAFSA, will be able to say if they qualify for said grants. And that's, yeah. So there's some schools that have used that as much as possible to bring in significant talent for their esports programs. So just be aware of that. The EFC has to be under 7,600. I forgot what EFC even stands for. I don't know much about the financial aid process as much as I should. But really important when we look at certain programs. I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to out them or anything, but there are programs out there that people think are given full rides, but what they're doing is they just have a lot of their recruits qualify for federal and state money. Yeah, absolutely. There's some federal and state money is just free money sitting on the table. Estimated family contribution. That's right. Okay. That is what EFC stands for. But yeah, that's an important piece of the conversation when you're talking about hard numbers with recruits, is that federal and state money that potentially on the table there. From NWC Esports and Twitch chat, we have a question. Speaking of professional development, I've seen you say a few times that professional development shouldn't be behind a paywall. NACAD and Voice, for example. I generally agree with your takes, so I'd like to hear more. I'm all for people helping one another out, but why shouldn't the people creating professional development materials charge for it? Why shouldn't they get value for the work and knowledge? No antagonism, just curious to hear more. In my opinion, from my experience and like paying for some of these conferences and going to them, I have not been to a conference where I felt like I actually got my money's worth. We are all new to the space, and to say you're an expert and to charge people for whatever knowledge you've gotten in the past 2 years, I think it is a disservice to the space as a whole. What I believe needs to happen is that any knowledge being um, uh, realized at this point needs to be shared out so we can all grow the space to a place where it needs to be. I think there's a massive lack of maturity in the space of collegiate esports and a massive lack of just general knowledge on how to run a collegiate esports program. And I think charging money for that, for in my opinion, as basic information, is a disservice to our students and the whole industry. That's my take. Um, so that yeah, and my greatest frustration with all of that is that oftentimes with smaller programs at smaller institutions or who are fighting for nickels and dimes for their programs, um, they are having to decide if they're going to pay out of their own pocket to buy that professional development. It is not a matter of, oh, all of our schools are paying for that. It's these I've been in the place where I'm asking my wife, is this something we can pay for, or can I pay for this? And that should not be the question. That should not be the place coaches are put in at this stage of the industry. With online classes, do universities recruit out of state and find players that don't necessarily play in LAN events or attend campus? Yes, yeah, there are schools that are recruiting online only players. It's definitely a hot topic in the space right now. Coach Wiki says, I would encourage schools to be realistic about recruiting, figure out what type of students you're looking for, and be understanding about what type of offers you're able to give. Are you going to be able to compete in recruiting for students who are getting offers close to a full ride? Are you looking for 4-year students, or are you okay if a student leaves after a semester? That's good questions. You mean I shouldn't pay $400 to get my collegiate e-game sports certificate? Probably not. Probably not. Fair and makes sense. Thanks for elaborating. Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you asking the question. Yeah. Uh, yeah. All right. Sweet. This is huge and it blah 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 blah. Something that I would take a long to learn. Yeah, I think Coach Wiki here in chat says he talked about kind of being realistic in your recruiting and what type of talent you're going for. I think that's a really good point. Everybody wants to be a national champion and go win CLOL, but realistically, with what you offer and what your school offers and what their goals for the program are, can you realistically compete with that? And if not, then what's the goal after that? So I think it's a good point. Has anyone ever had a student in their programs go from one title to another? I bet you could ask all the Overwatch coaches right now what's happening and where their players are playing if they're still playing Overwatch. I think there are definitely programs who've had students swap to different games. Yeah, it's good. Anybody have any questions or topics they want to talk about right now? Nothing? I could just rail on paying for professional development in esports for another 20 minutes if you really want. Had a full CS:GO team swap to Valorant. Yep, that's heard that one. Had a lot of students double up on games, but I had very strict criteria on when I would allow it. GPA, class load, mental health. Yeah, I think I have a lot of parents when they're on tour ask me if I have students who play multiple games. And my answer is yes, but I've never had a player that's good enough to be a starter on 2 different game titles. I've had players being on the academy roster of a second game title or as a sub, but very rarely would they ever start on 2. It's a lot. it's a lot to handle. GPA, class load, mental health, absolutely all the above. Thoughts on Halo Infinite? Oh my gosh, people keep bringing up Halo. I'm still in the same boat as I was when we first talked about it. Um, it's I don't think players in high school are playing it. I think it's a very boomer, quote unquote boomer game right now. It's the first Halo I've personally enjoyed since Halo 3, which is a positive, but I just don't see the adoption at the college and lower levels um, that would make Halo a viable collegiate esport, in my opinion. Two topics or questions. How many students do you think one staff can realistically support? Oh my gosh, we're open up a can of worms. And how do you coach, support, connect with students that play games that you don't have a good grasp of? That's a really good question. Um, my first one's always try to hire somebody who knows those games. Second is try to find a volunteer who knows those games. Third is to try to find an alumni who knows those games, which would be the same thing as a volunteer or same boat. Um, and then past that, it's understanding what you bring to the table in that environment. If you're the person who's coaching, like I'm coaching the League of Legends team this fall, or was, um, I'm gold in League of Legends. All my players are way better than me. And walking into practices and into the season, I need to realize that, be honest with myself and the team of where I'm at, and know where I can bring value. I'm not going to walk in and tell them what strategies or what meta we're going to be doing or following. That's not where I bring value. I think that would be detrimental to the team's success. So I've seen coaches who don't know certain games and walk in acting like they're the expert when they have no idea what they're talking about. I think that hurts your team's results as well as the culture very, very quickly. And you just have to be honest with yourself there. So we talk about communication, team cohesion, like those things are the things that I bring to the table, and then I facilitate conversation among the players on macro strategy, um, and then have any tough conversations that need to happen. We got a question in here. So I'm not sure if you touched on it yet, but I'd love to know more from you about the trends of esports recruits. When do you most commit? When is the time for many people to start really thinking about college? When do the majority of recruits make themselves known? Very much all over the table. I think what we all need to realize is that a majority of high school students have no idea that there is an opportunity to get scholarships to college. A majority of those high school students do not know that. And so most students are kind of on the same track as a non-student athlete in terms of their decision process when it comes to college, and that can kind of be all over the board. Most of the recruits I've had usually have not committed until the summer before the summer of the fall they're coming in. So like I've had students show up to campus before even committing, moving in, and then saying, "Hey, I decided to come." That is not out of the realm of possibility. But the earlier you can get students to commit, the better, obviously. The trend, I would say it's probably late spring is when most colleges are real or most programs are really starting to get recruits solidified at the earliest. Do you think coaches should settle on recruits if they're having a hard time reaching their goal or of recruiting top players due to being beat out in cost? I don't know if it's I hate the term settle, but at some point you do have to hit your number. You have to have full rosters. So if you're finding that your high ranked recruits are going elsewhere, um, you kind of have to go to your next highest recruits. And that goes for any traditional athletic program. That goes for any esports program. That goes for whenever you're building a team. Is like if you can't get the best, then you go for the second best, and kind of through there. Like, would you feel forced to meet recruiting goals? Absolutely. I think meeting those recruiting goals is really important for a lot of these programs, and it's the only key performance indicator also known as KPI, that most of these esports programs have. Most admins who are overseeing esports programs, the only goal or expectation that's set to them is recruitment goals. So that's the number one priority for most programs. It's not winning. There's a lot happening in Twitch chat over at twitch.tv/Coach Antor. I'm trying to keep up. And I'm trying to make sure that no one who requests to talk is ignored. So I'm kind of hopping back and forth. I don't allow students to play multiple games. Okay, we talked about that a little bit. I had almost all my recruits committed by May. Oh, aren't you fancy? You don't have to brag, Bilski. I have not had that experience in my 3 years at this point. April, May is pretty good. Yeah, if you're most of your recruits are committed by April, May, you're sitting pretty. You are sitting pretty. My summers are just historically have been just like trying my best to recruit, continuing to recruit. As people who live and die on how many students we bring in, the extreme lateness of recruit commitment can be a bit maddening. Yeah, and it's a theme that I'm also hearing from the admission side for non-student athletes as well. As students are committing later and later. I had a student who deposited at our school like a month ago. I messaged him, was like, "Oh, are you coming here?" He's like, "No, I had to put my deposit down because I want to make sure that if I do decide to go there, I have a good housing choice." And that's a theme I heard at Aquinas as well, is that there are students who are depositing at multiple institutions before they even commit, which is just, like you say, maddening. What's up, Billy? As people who live, yep, already did that. That's why I always started in October, so I could be working with them over the winter months to get them 100% ready. I wanted them to be committed by their grad party. I mean, we can want different things, Bilski, but I feel like students are on their own timelines. I think hopefully looping in parents into that recruitment process will help with that quite a bit, but we'll see. See, we'd run summer practices and tournaments. You want to see more events like the St. Louis event? That's a good idea. Some schools have refundable deposits. Yeah, that's crazy. What's up, Billy? What recruitment number would you say is the average amount each program brought in last year, and what is a number that would be considered an accomplishment? Actually, Chris Postel has the number of the average of how many new students were brought into the esports programs last year. I thought it was high. I don't remember what the number is. I would say the majority of programs who are out there that have recruiting goals are between 12 and 15 new students per year. I would say that when I hear somebody who's brought in 18 or more, I am very surprised and pretty proud or pretty excited for them. I think 18 or over would be a huge accomplishment for most programs. And that's 18 students who are not planning on coming to the university before that or college before they talk to the esports coach. So if it's a student who's already coming to the school and then they're just joining the esports program, great, that's cool. But that wouldn't be the number that I'm talking about specifically. Well, what is a good way to loop in parents? Also, do you think it's appropriate to do official communication with recruits via Discord? I do official communication through Discord with my recruits. What I've found to be beneficial that I just started this fall is to ask the recruit when I can hop on a call with their parents and them. And they're usually really receptive. The first one I did, the student actually just talked to their parents, and the dad just wanted to get on a call with me. So it was just me and his dad talking. And that was more than beneficial. He was very receptive to what I was saying and very excited that his student was looking at Florida Southern for esports. So, yeah, I think using Twitter or Discord for official communication is completely appropriate, in my opinion. I think it's less invasive than text messages, to be honest. and no one wants to hop on a phone call at this point. Like, I hate talking on the phone, so Discord's kind of where I push that. But looping in parents can just be, hey, when's a good time? We can hop on a call with your parents and you, and I can answer some of the questions they might have, because their questions will be completely different. Another way to loop in parents is on the tours, or when you're meeting with them on campus, is to have the parents involved in those conversations. Don't just be talking with the student. Talk with the parent. Ask them what questions they might have. Talk about financials. Talk about academics. Talk about study tables or anything you do to help the academic side of the house. Hates talking on phone, but will live stream to 50 people. Absolutely, yes. I hate talking on the phone. I hate it so much. But yeah, make the parents known that they're there. Look at this. Got this dude. I can go buy followers primes. Let's just ban. Boom. I'd get them into the Red Tails family and friends Discord server when they were on campus tours, so they could see all the information about the program. Oh, that's cool. So you would kind of loop them in on the Discord server during the tour. That's cool. That's a good idea. It's a really good idea. Why does the entire millennial generation hate talking on phones? Because our parents didn't make us talk on the phone. That's why. Whenever my mom ordered pizza or did something, she would call, and I just have never liked talking on the phone because of it. That's my so if there's somebody who likes talking on the phone, ask them, did your parents make you talk on the phone as a kid or order pizza or something? Chances are, my bet is they did. We had 3 servers. Varsity. So Faust had 3 different servers: a varsity server, a recruit server, and a friends and family server. That's crazy. You were the same way until you got a tech support job. That's fair. Nice. Well, we're right over 6 o'clock at this point, so we're going to start wrapping up. But if anyone would like to put in some last minute words or say anything last minute questions, now is your chance. I don't know if I'll be doing this next Tuesday. I think I will. I believe I'm back. So I will be back next Tuesday, same time, 5 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe by clicking the link below. As always, no. But I really appreciate everyone stopping by. If anyone has a topic they want to talk about, or want to get on the docket and want to talk, you personally want to talk about it too, please let me know. Thanks for another great show. Hey, anytime. I love these conversations. I think they're really beneficial for the community. I want to keep doing them. If anyone ever wants to hop on or bring up a topic, I'm all about it. I usually try to wait until the last day before I decide topics, because in case if something spicy comes up, obviously I want to talk about the spice and talk through that, but always willing to do that. View botting. Oh, you want to open up that can of worms? I'm not as akin to the information or the what's happening with view botting and collegiate at this point, but there are some people out there who are very opposed to it and know of schools doing it. I don't know how that it's interesting. I don't know how that'll affect the space. Are you going to stream your POV for charity? Yes. If I'm drafted, I'm streaming on this channel, twitch.tv/Coach Antor, and I will be in some type of uniform and sweatbands. All right. We are going sweaty. We are going hard in this Halo charity event. I will lose, but I will lose while I'm trying. All right. But we'll see. I might not even get drafted. So, League of Legends World Song Power Rankings discussion next week. Warriors. Okay. We could maybe talk about that. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to wrap up the space. I appreciate everyone for stopping by again. You guys are all amazing. Have a fantastic holiday. Please, please, please enjoy some time off away from the work. We will have plenty of time to get back to it. Really, last question, NWC. quick thoughts for today or future topic. What are your thoughts on the future of collegiate esports? Who? Ha. No comment today. We'll probably discuss it later. I think that could be an entire episode that we can talk through because I don't know. It's not in a healthy place. That's all I got to say.